after a short but busy trading week for retail. We're taking a closer look at some of the trends that have been emerging. Pretty soon it's going to be back to school and then the holidays. Let's get a retail scorecard from a pro who follows these names. Jharonne Martis is with us, Director of Consumer Research at LSEG. Thank you so much. So many of the names have already reported, maybe 90% of them or so. What are we finding? What are some of the themes?
Well, as you mentioned, about 90% of the companies, retailers have reported. The estimated growth rate is a robust 22.5% for earnings for retailers for the quarter, suggesting it was a pretty robust. The consumer was engaged. Revenue is expected to be up 4%. Still, over 50% of the companies did say in their earnings call, they talked about inflation. We saw yesterday, Best Buy was very vocal. Kohl's was vocal about it, both of them saying that the consumer is very promotional driven and that they will only open up their wallets if they find a discount, which is actually one of the main key themes that we saw this earnings season, that the value proposition is very critical on the consumer's minds when they open up their wallets, given that they're still dealing with sticky inflation.
So, look, I mean, sometimes they can pass those prices along, these companies, and sometimes they can't. How are they doing on that?
So on one hand, we're seeing that companies like Home Depot are suffering, right? Mm-hmm. But then the discounters did really, really well. Like you look at Walmart by itself, the pandemic and the inflation have brought Walmart over $130 billion in revenue since 2019. So you can see that when it comes to the discounters, they're doing much better. They're benefiting from the inflation. Dollar General did much better yesterday as well. Costco saying that, when the consumer's coming into the store, they're actually now spending on discretionary purchases. Consumers were buying toys, beauty items, garden products, tires, and the same can be said at Walmart. So we're seeing that the consumer when they're going to the discounters, they're actually feeling a little bit better about extending themselves, and that's why we had a pretty healthy earnings season.
Right, overall. So what should we be watching for now? I mean, department stores, you talked about discount stores. As we go through your notes here that you sent us, what are some things that we should watch for in the back half of the year?
Well, I will say that one trend that has consistently held well this year and is projected to continue to do well the second half of the year is active wear. We saw that at Dick's Sporting Goods. Gap yesterday saw a 5% same-store sales rise in athletic wear. And then next week, we have Lululemon expected to report, which is expected to see about a 7.2 same-store sales, which is actually robust and impressive considering the fact that they're dealing with difficult comparisons from a year ago. Then you have this summer, we have the Olympics. And traditionally, we see that activewear picks up when you have a sporting events of that magnitude. So activewear is where we're expected to continue to see a lot of the winners. Even though restaurants and hotels has come down from the highs of last year, that sector is also projected to still see double-digit growth in terms of earnings as well.
So activewear could be winners. You talked about Dick's. That's a name that you have talked about many times over the years. And there's just not a store, because Modell's went out of business. Sports Authority, I think, went out of business, at least here in Manhattan, folks. My store is closed, so to me, they go out of business. We're just not seeing the sporting goods stores. Like Athleta did well for the Gap. You talked about activewear, and I think about Foot Locker, on Cloud the Sneakers, Hoka's, Deckers is doing great. So I think footwear and still casual apparel. What about Nike and Lulu? Are those buys?
So Lululemon is projected to see a slowdown, but that's because they're coming from the very high demand that they had after the pandemic. But it's still a robust number. Any number, just so you know, a 3% same-store sales reflects healthy consumer spending, and they're expected to see 7.2 on top of difficult comparisons. So it's important to dig into the numbers. They're still standing strong. They still have a very loyal consumer following. Other strong trends that we're seeing are the value-oriented, the off-price retailers doing very well. Nordstrom Rack, TJX, Ross are still expected to continue to do well. Discounters, Costco, Walmart, those are the biggest winners so far.
What happened to the beauty, like Ulta Beauty, Elf?
Yes, so there's been a shift there, right? So we're seeing that Ulta told us that the consumers are moving away from those prestige high-end products. But then you see on the flip side that value proposition that we were talking about, how important it is to the consumer, right? Elf doing so well. So consumers the beauty sector is still resilient because consumers will not stop purchasing their beauty items. They might just trade down in order to save money during the high inflationary times.
For the back to school, which companies may do well?
So no matter how the economy is doing, back to school happens every year and parents are budgeted for it still. And Abercrombie & Fitch just posted its 4th consecutive quarter of double-digit comps and is still projected to do well. It is a teen favorite. I've gone to the store over Memorial Weekend and the line was out the door. So yes, Aeropostale is still also a favorite. So we will have a healthy back to school season. But again, those consumers like to procrastinate. So just wait until the very last minute to see those sales.
And then where may people be shopping for the holidays?
For Christmas, yes. So activewear is still projected to be a strong. Beauty tends to do very well in terms of gifts. So Best Buy was upbeat about its AI merchandise that it will introduce the second half of the year. So we might see a pickup in electronics. It's been a while since we've had a must-have electronic product. Yeah. So that could actually be a big winner during the holiday season. Other than that, the discounters are still consumers are still value oriented. So I expect to see strong groceries at Walmart and Costco and off-price retailers.
Right, and look, I mean, there's this sort of concept that luxury shoppers are going down a little bit and shopping at other stores that maybe they hadn't shopped at before.
Right. The amount of consumers that Walmart has gained, like online by itself, they've increased their product offering by 36%, and now you can even find like Dyson products on the Walmart website. So they've been increasing their high-end product offering on their websites and in stores as well, and that's attracting that high-end consumer also who wants organic food instead of going to Whole Foods and paying less for it.
All right. Jharonne Martis, LSEG. Looking at all those retail names. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.